up now. Come on, can't stop me. Come on, come on, you coming up.
I'm so extra.
Hey, hey, everybody. We are live. Come on in here. Come on. We want you to get in here. We have another power pack, exciting, fun filled show. And Morgan and I are going to chat for a minute. We hope y'all have had a good, this is the week, day 2 of the week, right? We
Yeah.
hope it's good. We hope it was good. It was productive. Morgan, how was your day today, dear?
Um, it was wet.
So it's raining where
It
you are.
was
It's raining.
raining here. Yeah,
Oh,
it was raining here. And of course, today was the day I decided I was going to get up and get some house things done before I set out to a job. And that was not a good idea. I went to the store early. Store didn't end up opening up until 9. So then I was like sitting in the car. And of course, the moment I get out the car, that's when the floodgates open.
oh yeah. And it's like, oh my God, can this day get any worse? Yeah. Yeah,
Exactly.
I've been in
Exactly.
that situation before. This has been my Mondays and Tuesdays are always extremely busy because I started adjunct teaching at another college in
Right.
addition to everything else on the list that I do. So by the time, and the class is virtual, which you would think is good, but it's from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So you just nonstop doing stuff all, and I'm like, oh God.
Wow.
So when I get done, it's like, you know what? I just want to be quiet. I don't want, I just, no, I don't want to talk to anybody. But it was productive. So I realized just how much I have going on. And it's like, really?
Oh, I
I
know.
told somebody, I can't take anything else on my plate. I got to say no. No, I can't take anything else. I cannot.
Oh my goodness. So we must definitely be like on the same wavelength all the way. Like yesterday, actually, I was doing a community event. And one of the girls was just like, I can barely figure out how to handle myself and this baby. How do you do that and have multiples and all these
Yeah,
jobs and stuff? And I was like, girl, write it down. And learn
absolutely.
how to say no. Those are
Right.
the two biggest things.
Exactly. Maybe we need to do a show on time management and how to say
Absolutely.
no because
Absolutely.
you can't. And I've had people ask me that same question, like, how do you juggle everything with you moving and kids and I don't know. I just do it. I can't even explain it. You just do it.
Exactly. Well, there's
So
a blessing in the no, though. And a lot of people don't understand what that is. They're like, oh, well, if I say no, then I'm missing out on something or I'm leaving a bag on the table. Not if you're sick,
no.
not if
Right.
you're dead, not
Yeah.
if you're not, at your best. And now you have,
Right.
it's at the cost of something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Absolutely.
there is definitely a blessing in the no. So hey, that should be a name of one too.
Yeah, so that goes along with HOP and what we're doing with women and empowering women. Even though we're encouraging you to obtain what you want and do what you want and get that bag and get to the next level, you gotta learn the balance. You gotta learn how to say no at the appropriate time. But
Yeah.
we're still learning that. We're learning that. But
Yes, it's a work in
on
progress.
today, oh my goodness, today is another special day, but this one is near and dear to me because, and I did not spill the beans. Only Morgan knows that she found out when Sun
Yeah, Sunday.
Sunday. Oh, so I can't wait to share with everyone. So our guest is a business owner, and she's been a business owner for many, many years. And when you hear her, you're going to say, oh my gosh, she sounds just like April. That's because it's my mom. Yay! So her name is Miss Kathy Green. I love this woman like no other, but she owns a child care center in Valdosta, Georgia, which is where I grew up. And she believes in the title that we have, Shaping Future Generations, and she has a real passion for it. So we're going to bring her in at some point.
Hi,
And
Jacqueline. First off, just wanted to say hello, hello, hello.
hey, Jackie. Oh my God,
Hello.
there's Hey.
Hi, Miss Green. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh my goodness, you do sound just
I told you. I did not lie. You can imagine the phone calls to our house growing up. Hey, because they call her Sister Green at church. Hey,
like.
Sister Green. No, this is April. Like what? Just like your mom. I know. I know. Some kind of way we got the same voice type. So yeah. So
I love it. Oh my gosh.
So my mother is the owner of Jackson Heights Christian Academy. And this is, well, we were probably thinking that's going to be the final name, but it started out as a different name when she started in home. And I'm not going to tell the story because I want her to tell it. But my mom is amazing. She is that, and I love her. And I'm so glad that she agreed to be a guest on our show on today. How you feeling, mommy?
Good. I
You
feel
good?
great. I feel great. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad
Yeah.
to hear that. I'm glad to hear that.
I got my second win.
Okay, good. I want you to have that. Your second win and your brain needs to be functioning because you can answer these questions we're going to ask you. Yeah.
Were you with some children today?
Yes, I was with 1-year-olds.
Oh yeah,
9
so
of
that's
them
grandma.
exactly.
9?
Yeah.
Wow.
Normally we have 12 in that classroom, but only 9 were present on today. So
Wow.
yeah.
All right. So let's get into this. So
Yeah.
I want to start this off. Hey, Corey. So I want to start this off by asking because we need a little backstory, because my mother is a registered nurse. She's a nurse. Okay. She's been a nurse all that I can remember, pretty much all my life. And then so she transitioned out of nursing into childcare. Why exactly did you do that? What made you do that?
Well, at the time that I was nursing, the area that I was in at that time, I was doing home health, which was I was going into the homes after because my I always thought, okay, once these patients leave the hospital and go home, who's at home to help them? So I transitioned from working inside the hospital facility into home health. And so it was my job once they got at home to go to the home to teach them about their medication, to teach them how to do a dressing if they had a wound or if they had had surgery, how to keep it clean, all things like that. So that was my job there. And I loved it. If I could go into a home and leave a patient smiling, if they were in so much pain, leave them smiling or laughing or something, I've done my job. So that was that area. I had come home at lunch on a break and it was during a school day. And I saw some kids walking down the street and I'm like, why aren't they in school? I said, this is a school day. Why are they walking down the street? And so normally I would go out and say, why are you out here and not in school? But that particular day, I was just looking and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something different.
Mm,
And childcare came to mind. And I said, oh, well, Lord, I said, if this is for me to do, I'll do my best to win them back to you.
mm,
And from that day, I started working on it. I was still nursing, and then I was had daycare in my home, so I could go and see a patient at their home, and then I could come back and check on the daycare, which I had someone assisting me. So they would be here during the day while I would be out seeing patients. So I did it, I want to say probably maybe 6 months that way until I thought, this is too big. So I stopped nursing and started doing childcare full time. And by that time, um, and in your home, you're only licensed for 6 during the day. You could have 2 in the morning for an hour and 2 in the afternoon for an hour, either or. So that's just a total of 8. No, I ended up with about 12 children. So it was like, okay. And it was parents that did not want their children, had multiple children and did not want them separated. So I was like, okay, so we're gonna work this thing out. And so but it would always work out that when it was inspection time, I would only have 6 children every time.
It worked out.
And
It worked out.
it worked out every time. I would only have 6 children. For some reason, some would um, either be late coming or not coming or out of town. And every time it worked out. So, um, but I also, when I quit working and would be there full time, my assistant was still there. So there was still enough staff there to cover any number that I had. So it was good. It was good. Yeah. So I have just been growing from there, and it's
Quite a
fun.
bit of growth. Quite a
Yes,
bit of growth.
it
Because
is fun.
what
I
year
love
was
it.
that? When did you start? What year was that?
I started in 1999.
Oh
Okay.
my, 23 years ago.
1999. Yeah. And and it's strange too. The first child I had was an infant, and her mother worked overnight. So
Mhm.
here I was with this infant. I work and I got to keep her at night. And she's waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I got to get up and feed her. And now she's an adult with children of her own.
Wow.
Look at that. Can
Yeah.
you speak a little bit on I guess that overnight care? Like how exactly did you work? I used to work nights and that was one of the biggest things for me, if I didn't have my mom at the time to be able to, watch my son, what was I supposed to do? And I know there's a lot of parents that are in that situation. So what's something I guess that you would be looking for or looking into, for that overnight care?
For overnight care, I would look for number one, safety. And if also that the staff understands if they're asleep, it's not time for you to sleep.
Mhm.
You've got to watch those children and make sure they may seem like they're asleep, but are they breathing? Are they comfortable? Do they look comfortable? Are they warm or are they cold? You look for things like that. And then what are you doing before they actually, you know, your time for them to go to sleep? What are
Okay.
they doing? What activities are you doing before they actually go down? You can't go outside, but what are you doing in the classroom with them? Are you playing music? Or are they doing exercise? Or are they singing? What are they doing before they actually go down for sleep until parents come and pick them up?
Okay.
Hmm.
That was good. Thank you.
Hmm.
So, with the topic tonight is shaping future generations, and I found that befitting because you want to make sure that you impact all of the children that come through your center. And I've seen the evidence of a lot of them growing up and doing some awesome things. But how has child care changed over the years from what you've seen, from when you started in '99 up until now? How has it really changed?
You want me to get on that soapbox?
Oh, no, I don't want you to get on the soapbox. I want you to give me a couple of points and then we're going to move on. That's what I want you to do. I don't want you to get on the soapbox.
I'm
The
the instigator.
Oh, Lord.
biggest thing for me is um the way that they've changed for educating children.
Mm, that's big.
That's the biggest thing.
Hmm.
Um, the first change that they did, and they're still kind of doing it too, is that children learn through play. Some children will.
Hmm.
Most children just want to play. They just want to play. You'll find, and an example that I use is when you're outside on the playground. How many children will you see that will, if you got activities out, sidewalk chalk or something like that, you have that they will actually draw an alphabet or
Mm,
draw a shape or a number. They just take that chalk and they just go
mm,
and do and play. That's it. So that's my biggest pet peeve. Because you're preparing them for the next grade.
hmm,
And if they're not having moments where they're learning to sit, learning to rest their body, when they get to that next age, they're not going to be able to do it. If you
hmm,
got a pre-K and they're not learning to sit and listen, when they get to kindergarten, that teacher is going to pull her hair out because they're not wanting to sit
Right.
and listen at her read a story or do something on the board. They're not going to want to do that. So it makes it hard for the next teacher when they go from one grade to the next. It makes it hard for them. So
So
when I
with
heard
that,
you say something earlier too, Morgan, about saying no, it's
Mhm.
it's it's hard. Um, because with younger children, like the ones and twos that I work with, the threes, you know, I know Georgia does. I don't know about other states. They don't want you to tell the children no.
Mm,
And I'm like, um, but there are instances that word no, it's just got to come out. It has to
mhm.
come out.
Yeah.
And it's hard. That's a pet peeve of mine.
So you're supposed to find a creative way and in a situation where a no is a no to
Yeah.
not say no, and this is what they are wanting you to be able to. Okay.
Yes, yes. So it's the word is redirection.
Mm,
Mhm.
Just want you to redirect them to
Right.
doing something else. And you can redirect for, a while, but eventually they're not going to go back to the same thing.
Right.
They're
Exactly.
going to go back and they're going to be like, you said no, but you really didn't mean that. Yes, I did.
Well,
You know,
what I've found is when you tell a child no, if it is followed, and this is actually something I learned as an adult in training for, training other people. But if you tell someone no and then give them the reason why behind it,
yeah,
especially at an age appropriate comprehension, they're
right,
less likely to then repeat that.
right.
So that is another way of redirecting without you
Hmm.
feeling like you're finating or controlling whatever the idea is behind not saying no.
mhm.
It needs to be
Exactly.
said. Because think about it. In a normal world, how many times you get told no on a regular basis? Can you
Right.
Yes,
imagine if you've
exactly.
never heard no in your life, and then the first time somebody tells you no, what's gonna happen? You're gonna revert back to that 2-year-old child who's gonna melt down in the middle of the floor at 37. That's not cute.
Exactly.
Right. Right.
Exactly. And you're
So
absolutely
inappropriate.
right. And that's one of the things that I train my staff to. whenever you got a situation with a kid, and I show them by example, because I will go and get me a chair and I will sit down in that chair where I can get eye level with that child.
Mhm.
And my thing is, well, we got an issue right here. You did whatever, and that's not what we do. So we got to fix it. I always put it back in their court. We got to fix it. How do you think we should fix it?
Mm.
And, you threw a toy over at Johnny and it hit him. He didn't like it. So how do we fix that? And it's so funny sometimes when you have children that really have discipline at home,
Mhm.
and first thing come out of their mouth is, "You need to spank me." No, baby. No,
No, I'm
sweet.
not here to spank you.
That's not it. No, we need to come up with another solution.
Mhm.
And so my worry is that's not nice. So we tell them we're sorry.
Mm.
And so they know it all across the board. Oh, that's not nice. No, it's not.
Mm.
And so they learn from that. Be consistent with the words that you use all the time. Consistency is the key. It's not
Mm.
nice, or that was not a good thing to do. That was not a good choice. That was not sweet. Something like that. We use those same terms, and they begin to understand. Oh, that wasn't nice. No, it wasn't. And but then you've got to make sure that even in redirection, you use the right tone, the right facial expression, and then that way they'll get it. They're not really feeling like they're scolded,
Right.
Mhm.
that it's in a loving way. And, oh, okay, I got it. I got it.
Yeah.
And
Because
you'll
actually, I wanted to go back to what you were saying with the spanking bit. I was like, because if you think about that just as the response, technically,
Mhm.
we've never taught what the um what's the flip side to it. What are we going to do to fix it? We
Mhm.
haven't been taught that. It has just been that you did something wrong and now there has to be a consequence, but
Right.
it's no conversation as to how can we fix it and move on from there.
Exactly. And that has just traveled from, say, for myself coming up. I came up through the older generation, and that was it. You did something wrong, you get a pow pow for it. But now you have a different generation where, like you said earlier too, they want to know why. They
Mhm.
want to know why. Well, why can't I do so and so? Why can't I? Why can't I? So that's where you have to stop and explain to them why. It's
And
not
that's
safe. You could get hurt, you
mhm.
know, things like that.
That's important too. All of the things that you've said so far really tie in with our topic of shaping future generations, because it's not just one area or another. It's many areas that make a well-rounded
Mhm.
person, to be in the community,
Yes.
to be successful. And yes, the education piece is really important, but you
Hmm.
also need to teach them how to interact with others, how to
Yeah.
handle difficult situations, what is something good, a good action or not so good action, something that they've done, or how things are, a situation. It's all important so we can. I mean, they're who coming after us, and if we
Right.
don't prepare them, if we just focus so much on the education and we don't teach them how to, go to work and make money, or if we don't teach them how to talk to one another
Hmm.
or treat one another, then
Right.
we pretty much kind of fail, because you can only learn so much from a book.
Hmm.
You have life experiences and then people
Right.
pour into your life. And I think that some places are missing that. I've seen a lot of centers and places that are more geared on just just want you to just play and just get over there, and they're not focused on, okay, do they know their ABCs? Can they count?
Right.
You know, are
Right.
they ready for grade school, or are they ready for life in general? So we have to really work, and believe it or not, people are working, and you have working parents, and these parents have children, multiple, so they have somewhere that they need them to go. And so
Hmm.
they want to find that best place. I know for myself, it was just terrifying for me to try to find childcare for my kids because I wanted to make sure that while I was at work, I'm comfortable with where I've left them and nothing's going to
Yes.
happen to them. So
Yes.
that shaping them goes from just the education, and it goes to teaching them about life skills and you know how to be independent because you get them as early as 6 weeks old. So
Yes.
then they turn 1 and then 2, and then we're potty training and walking and feeding
Yeah.
ourselves. So
That's my big thing is independence.
mm,
Even as an infant, once they hit about 3 months, um, I want them to be able to, you know, scoot on their own, be able to go to a area on the carpet and play by themselves. We talk to them across the room, call their name and things like that. But we want them to be able to be independent for a little while. They're not alone, but be able to play by themselves, and I call it self-soothe
mhm.
themselves.
Okay,
Hmm. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I come
So
from
what?
a completely different school of thought.
So
I
what's
totally do.
your thought?
It's actually really funny. So if you listen to my mom, I am a Dr. Spock child. Okay. So it was the self-soothing, it was the put yourself to sleep, it was the independence, it was a
Hmm.
lot, everything that you just said.
Hmm.
And so with my first, that's exactly what I did. I even got to the point I what's the word? I slept train. I did a lot of those things so that I could, afford some independence.
Hmm.
My second child now, they are almost 10 years apart. A lot has changed at that time. I actually dealt with postpartum. There was a lot of different, factors in that. But I didn't necessarily do all of those things with him. And believe it or not, he's more independent as a 3-year-old than my 12-year-old is.
Yes. Hmm.
So what I've realized is one, I think it starts at home. And that's really what I just wanted to say in general when I say the different school of thought, in the sense of each child has their different way. And you're right.
Yes.
There are some
Hmm.
where that's perfect in that sense of you need to learn that independence, where there's others that can learn that independence still in that coddling and being held and, you know what I mean, a little bit more close type of way. But it
Hmm.
all starts at home. And those things that you were talking about, April, about business, you were talking about, just how to interact with people, how to have communication, all of those kind of things. They learn that at home first.
Yes.
Mhm,
It's not
Hmm.
your job, Miss Green, to
Hmm.
teach the child to do that. You are to facilitate or to go along with what's being at home, but it is not your sole responsibility to do
Hmm.
that. Because
right.
then how do you get to a place where you can teach the ABCs? You can't teach ABCs if Johnny can't sit still.
Yeah.
But Johnny needed to learn how to sit still before he got into anybody's anything in the first place.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that is still, whether you're working or not, you know what I mean? That is the plight that comes with having a child and being a parent. There are things that you have as a responsibility, and then you have childcare, then you have school to be able to help facilitate the things that you've already started to instill. And I think that's
Right.
what we need to get back to. And that
Hmm.
might be some of the things that I feel like you're fighting on the other end. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, the reason why you have to adhere to a no rule, I think, has a lot to do with what's coming on the parent end. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And parents having an issue with telling their child no. So
Yeah.
then, you know, when someone else does, now you want to get attitude. You know what I mean? No,
You are
Exactly.
absolutely right.
you know what I
Right.
mean?
Absolutely. Because we don't, for as take potty training, for instance, we don't start potty training
Mhm.
and really get into it until mom initiates it. So when mom
Mm.
starts it, we reinforce what mom is doing at home. We'll
Right.
do a little more because we're
Right.
on a schedule. Well, yeah, sort of schedule every
Mm.
hour.
Right.
And so for the 2-year-olds, their restroom is inside the classroom. So you get an almost 2-year-old that's going in this little room, and the rest of them are looking and like, what they keep
What you
going in that
doing?
little
Yep.
room for? Yeah, what are they going in there for? And so then everybody else gets curious. So they want to go into that little room to find
Yeah.
out, okay, what's the happenings in that little room?
Right.
So, and that's how they start. So they learn from their peers. But if we're almost in undies and then they get home with mom and she slaps them on a pull up, we're back to square one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back to square one.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just like Corey said, yes, co-teaching is just like co-parenting. But
Yep.
Morgan, I agree with you 100%. It starts at home, but that's where I'm seeing that there's the lack. That's
Hmm.
where the issue is because the
Yeah.
parents are not many parents. I'm not going to say all parents. There are some parents that don't start at home. So then when they go to daycare, they are just out of control, no
Hmm.
discipline, no structure at all. And then the next thing you
Yes.
know, the daycare provider and the staff are stressed out. And then, boom, they're gone and they're leaving or they're shut down because there's isn't there a high turnover with
Yes.
childcare workers just for
Yes.
that's one of the reasons because they
Hmm.
get so burnt out because the kids coming in they haven't been shaped and molded from home
Right.
so they know how to behave. So
Yeah.
then it puts
Yeah.
more work on you. So it's like you're in a hamster wheel, just constantly rolling,
Yeah.
rolling because you're trying to reinforce it. I know one thing that my mom always says that's funny to me is, on Fridays they go home and they're home all weekend. Hey, Jessica, they're home all weekend. And then when they come to her on Monday, she has to retrain them
Yeah.
to
Oh,
how things are at the center because they're like out of control.
yeah.
So,
Now this is the first time I've ever had any multiple birth children. So
mm,
now I have a set of triplets. Oh my goodness.
I can
They're
imagine.
sweet. I love them. Oh my goodness. I love those 3 children. But different and
Yes.
busy, yes. And they
Mm,
have their own personality. But I can, because first every time I go into a classroom, my first place is on the carpet with those children. And once I hit that carpet, here they come. And that's how you win them over and they win your trust. And that's all. They could be running all over the room, just terrorizing the teacher in there. And I just go and sit on the carpet. I either start singing or pull out a bin with toys, and everything just gets calm. And I'm like,
mm.
well, what in the world was happening just a minute ago?
Yeah.
But I love what I do. I
Yeah.
love what I do.
Can
Yeah.
you talk a little bit about how you deal with personality, different personalities, um, I guess commanding some kind of structure because not every child responds to every. You don't want to necessarily squash a child's spirit because you want them
Mm-hmm.
to be so regimented. Like I honestly believe that there is supposed to be some freeness and something to children rather than being so
Right.
regimented.
Right.
And so like for me, I don't. don't tell my kids not to cry. You know what I mean? Get those emotions out. I'm acknowledging this tantrum and how you're feeling right now. But now let's talk about why you're feeling and how we can be able to move on from here. You know what I mean? Whereas the old school was just cut that crying out, or, you know, boys don't cry, or, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's just been regimented, or everyone needs to sit down. There are some children that can sit down at certain points, but then also need to be moving at certain points. Like I have a brother who, when he was young, he learned while he was moving. He was not retraining anything. So the teachers realized he can be quiet and not be disruptive in the class. And he was in the back and would just pace back and forth. A student, but he needed to be moving.
Is knowing your students, knowing that child.
Okay.
You've got that child's personality. I tell the teachers all the time, it's something that you can say to one that you can't say to the other, because they're not going to respond the same. And it's a proven fact, because I had two little children. One, if they was crying and I know they were crying for attention, I would be like, okay, that's enough. Stop the crying. Just stop. They'll stop immediately. But I had another one, I can tell, no, stop the crying. Stop the crying. He will just lose it. He would lose, and he would cry on and on and on. But then I could tell him, okay, come here, come.
Need a hug? Yep.
He would come, and I would say, okay. And we would just look at each other. I said, now, can you tell me? Can you use your words and tell me what happened? Please tell me what happened, because I need to know. And so he would sniff for a little while, and then he would tell me. I said, we can fix that. No problem. And he would want to go and do something different. I said, oh, that's okay. Go ahead. He'd be fine. But he instead of calming down, it would escalate. And so that's how I knew how to deal with him. So I couldn't deal with him the same way I deal with any of the other children. So you've got to know your child. You've got to know each one of the children. And then it'll go from there. But you've got to know every last one of them, what their personalities, what will cause them to shake, what will cause them to cry. You just had to know them. You had to know them.
Wow.
And the teacher
It's crazy how kids shape you, right?
What now?
I said it's funny how kids shape you as an adult as well, and how you learn.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily just helping to shape those future generations, but those future generations are helping us as well.
Exactly. Because you would feel like you want to go, but then I can't do that with Jeffrey over there, because he's gonna do the same thing. Yeah. So yeah. But it's just also they're little people, and they have their little moments. And when they have their moments, let them have their moment. Give them their moment. If they need to have it over in the reading area by themselves, let them have it in the reading area by themselves. You watch them out the corner of your eye, and you acknowledge that I know you're having a moment. It's okay. I'm watching you. I see you. It's okay. When you get ready, come on, you can join us. But that's the way we are as adults. Same as when they lay down at nap time. They're going to wiggle and turn and flip and flop. Don't we wiggle and turn and flip and flop until we find our comfortable spot? Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Let them alone. Let them wiggle it. After a while, they'll find that right hole on that cot, and they'll go right on off to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
right home.
Yes. So Corey said she agreed because if you're raising multiple children, you handle them accordingly, not all the same. Same rules, but
Exactly.
different strategies. And
Exactly.
Absolutely.
and that the child care providers have to have a special gift to be able to see that,
Yes.
and you have to be
Yes.
able to come in. And I by no means am fit for childcare. I am not. I have no no, no, that's not even me. But you have to come in to say, okay, what can I do to shape or help these kids
Hmm.
that are going to be in my classroom or under my care?
Hmm.
Okay, and like you said, you have to get to know each individual one. So
Right.
it, do that with my students, but they're adults. I learned them the first week. Okay, who's going to have difficulty picking up the skills that I'm teaching them?
Hmm.
Who's going to pick it up and
Right.
go? Who's going to be a little bit more emotional? Who's going to be stronger and independent? So it's
Exactly.
the same way. I still got to shape them to prepare them for surgery. So you're
Hmm.
going to shape them, prepare them, but we got to learn them first. We're going to learn
Right.
them. So
Right.
how like when you first get a new child that comes in, and how has that, I know you've had some, how's that transition usually? Is it difficult for the child? I know it, if you've been in
Ooh,
the field, but how is that?
you hit the nail right on the head. I had one start yesterday. Um, he's never been in childcare, and he was, because I can hear what's going on through my whole facility, even if I'm in one room and the door is closed. I just have that ear, I can hear. And so I was in another classroom and I heard him crying. And I was like, okay, that's my new baby. So I just always go to the classroom where they are and walk to them and start talking to them. You have to, softly is the key.
Mm,
Soft tone of voice is the key. And it was just, you could tell that this was new to him. First time being away from mom, being away from home in a strange environment. Yeah, there's a lot of toys around. I see these two ladies walking around. I see this other lady that come in every now and then. And I'm not feeling y'all. I'm just sorry. I'm not feeling you. And so you have to, that child, for probably that first week, you have to cater to them a little more.
mm,
You have to cater to them a little more. You have to give them a lot of leeway.
yeah.
Usually after that next week, maybe Tuesday, because they're going to go home on the weekend. They're going to be home for 2 days. They're going to come back Monday and they're going to be like, this the same place I was at last week. This
Right.
same room. And they got to get readjusted until they really, really get comfortable, because those are children.
Right.
They're afraid because this is
Yeah.
new to them.
Right.
And so that's that lady. That's not my mama's voice. This is not
Mm,
my bed I take a nap in. You know, this is not
right.
the chair I sit in to eat. And so everything is new to them. So
Mhm.
you have to really cater to them and love on them so they can feel comfortable, because they're afraid. They're
Yeah.
afraid.
You definitely have to, and I think about that with my field. Jessica said the focus is definitely on their needs. And so you were talking about them being afraid because they're in a different environment. We
Hmm.
deal with that in surgery when we perform surgery on pediatric patients, because you've taken them from who they know and they're comfortable with.
Right.
You're bringing
Hmm.
them into an environment that's foreign to them. And it's scary because I tell my students, I said, believe it or not, when you have on a cap and safety goggles and a mask and a gown and gloves, and you turn around and look at a pediatric patient, they are going to scream. You look
Hmm.
scary. And
Yeah.
so we're taught in school about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and one of them is having that safety and security feeling,
Hmm.
feeling safe and secure. So, giving that leeway in the beginning, if we if you don't, then you're going to traumatize that child. And then the parent's going to be upset because it's like, okay,
Right.
what's going on? Why haven't they acclimated to being there? It's because you didn't give them that time to get comfortable with everyone and have
Hmm.
that, have that moment there. So it's so
Yeah.
important to you look at this from all different angles. It's just not black and white, clear cut. There's
Yeah.
just so many ways. There's some gray areas in that to prepare them, but it's all for to make them into who they are. And I know it's
Exactly.
probably really um rewarding to you and makes you proud to see them get accustomed to being there and then
Yes.
thriving, and you see their personality, you see them learning and growing. I know that
Hmm.
has to be so great for you.
Yes, it is. Because I've had so many that have started as infants and have now graduated college. Um, my my first, I call him my first grandson. He started. This kid was he may between 1 and 2 years old, but he was walking very smart as a toddler. But he sucked the pacifier. He would not wear the little pacifier strip. He would only keep his pacifier on with a gold chain. And yes,
Nice.
yes. So that's how he would come every day with his pacifier with a gold chain. He has now graduated from Morehouse College. And so it's
Amazing.
just, you look at him like, really? But yeah, he's done well. One of my other students, my first baby, actually, after she got to be an adult, her father moved across the street from me.
Mm.
And I remember one time he had to come and get her and take her to the doctor. And we had never seen him before. And so I always told his mom, before they come, warn them they need ID, a valid driver's license or something with their picture on it, because they don't get any kids from here. And she was like, okay, I'll tell him. So when he came to the door, he was literally shaking because he thought, "Oh, she's not going to let me get my baby to take her to the doctor." And but when I looked at him, I'm like, oh my gosh, this baby looks exactly like you.
Mm.
And so that's just the thing. I let my parents know that their child's safety is my main concern.
Mhm.
And I let them know too as well that we're structured, but we're not so structured that we don't let them have some leeway.
Mm.
And even if they have someone, a family member, I don't care who it is, come to pick them up, you must let me know. And if they come to pick them up and that child looks at them real crazy and start crying, sorry, you're gonna
That's
have to come get
that's a
them.
no-go.
they, they cannot go
Wow.
with them. You will have to come get them or somebody that they're familiar with. No, I don't do
Mhm.
that. Now, some
Yeah,
places may just push them on and say, this is Uncle Jojo. You gotta go. No, I'm
yeah.
sorry, Uncle Jojo. Sorry. You better call mama. You
Right.
better
Yeah,
call
we can't
mama,
play those type
daddy,
games.
somebody. You're not getting her or him. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you
That's
can't
just
do that in this day and time. Just times are
so
totally different.
yeah.
Yeah, you
So
can't
Yeah.
play. You got to be for sure. You
hmm
know, just
yeah,
can't play that. Yeah.
yeah. So
Oh
they
my.
and any of the staff that answers the door, if I'm not up front, I may be in the back in a classroom. And if they've never seen them before, trust me, they coming to get me. So no child leaves if they're not familiar with them. If we don't have any emergency information on them, copies of their driver's license or whatever, we must have that on file. before a child leaves. That's just
Mm.
it. So, um, you know, you may have some that want to flex. I can flex too.
They don't let this pretty face
They don't want
fool
none.
you.
You don't want none of this.
So
Oh,
I have one. What I'd like to do, Morgan, if that's okay with you, I want to ask this one last question, and then after we ask this last question,
Jessica said
yeah,
smoke.
Jessica said smoke. That's right, Jessica. You don't want this smoke.
Exactly.
We're gonna have you to just give us your thoughts on shaping future generations and your own perspective, but after you answer this question. Now Morgan wrote this question and I was like floored when I read it, and I never thought about it and then never asked you. So we want to know, how has you being a mother shaped how you do your business, or how you constructed your business or started it? How has that, because I'm your mother, there's four of us. She has four kids. I'm the oldest and the most beautiful. Yeah, I said it. Uh, because I
I
have
said
three
that.
younger brothers. I don't have any sisters. So yes, I'm the most beautiful. So how has being a mother, did you incorporate any qualities or characteristics of being a mother, or things that you did with us that you put into the business as well?
Um, yeah, I'll say it's a lot of things for as safety. Um, she I said she has five.
Cheryl,
Cheryl.
your niece, that's my cousin. No, Cheryl,
Um,
stop it.
is she made me lose my thought.
See there,
um,
I'm gonna have it out with you after this show. I'm calling you first.
is love really,
Mm,
because this is a different generation of children,
mm,
different from when my children were coming up, because they believed what you said at face value. if
mm,
if mom says no, it's for a reason, no questions asked, there's a reason why. This generation of children now is, if you say no, you gotta give a reason why. You gotta
mhm,
take it a step further. And so the reason I said what I said, because it's not safe. Like when I do the van run in the afternoons, everybody has to have on a seatbelt.
mhm.
There is no alternative. Zero, no tolerance. You better have a seatbelt on. And so I get on, they get on. Okay, I don't hear seatbelts. Click, 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 click. And so now the kids will say, click, 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 because, and the reasoning for that is we're moving. And
Mhm,
if we don't have to hit, I don't have to hit anyone, another car could hit us.
mhm,
And that could throw you out the seat. You could get hurt or something like that. And I want you safe. When I do all of that, oh, everybody's cool. So then they watch out for each other. Then they
mhm,
start telling each other, so and so don't have on that seatbelt. So you have to take it a step further. You have got to take a deep breath and explain it. Because if you want to try to take a shortcut, it's not going to work. You got to explain it in detail. So that's one thing I know of with children nowadays,
mhm.
and the children when I was raising my children. But you just got to love them. You've got to love them, and you've got to show that love. You got to be one big body of love. Just one
Mm.
big body of love. Hmm.
Wow. Dr. V says, I guess that's six, Cheryl. Mama, I'll wear my seatbelt, Dr. V.
I was going to take spot 6, but I'll take 7.
Oh my god. Wait a minute. Now I never said that I was gonna share with all y'all people, okay?
Don't
Well,
Cindy,
since
just
you
because you're
wanna
the
talk about
oldest, don't mean you can be April.
oh my god, really? Fine. I'll share a little bit. I'll share. I will share.
But
But you
one
know
thing
what?
I want this generation to know is I don't care how young you are, you can be whatever you want to be.
Mhm.
Whatever you desire. If you want to be an attorney, if you want to be a judge, if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a judge and an attorney, you can do whatever. The opportunity is there for you to do it. You've just got to jump in and do it. Hey, this is what I want to do. I don't have time for you right now. I got to go hit my books because I'm going somewhere. I have a
Mm.
future and I am focused. All that you got going on, I don't even care. I'm going this way. So
Mhm.
if that means us parting company, that's right. Tunnel vision. Yes.
Yeah.
So if they could really understand that education is there, money's out there for them. They're just throwing it away and grab hold to it and get that education because that's what's going to take you. You just can't go and say, well, um, I want to be an architect. Okay. What are your papers?
Mm.
What have you done prior to being an architect? Have you gone to school? Have you taken any classes? Can you draw anything?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Can you draw a box? You know, if you can't draw a box, come on. So that may not be the field for you.
Mhm.
Just like with April doing surgery. Have you drawn a straight line on your baby doll and thought, that's a straight line. Could I cut that straight line? No. So surgery is not the thing for you. Can you stand to see blood? No. Okay, surgery definitely isn't the thing for you. So you
Right.
got to figure out what it is because you listen at a lot of children now. What do you want to be when you grow up? You know,
Mhm.
I don't know. Have you thought about it?
Right.
Well, here's the alternative question too. As a parent, what have you exposed your children to? Because
Mhm.
if you haven't exposed them to anything in the beginning, then how exactly
Exactly.
are they supposed to have an idea of what they may
Hmm.
want to be anyway?
Right.
So
Right.
And
some of that.
we're the first institution of learning, home.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
what is your career? What is it that you would like to do and you have not had the opportunity to do? And
Mm.
if you had the opportunity, would you go back and do it?
Mhm.
And that's where it starts. And you show your children, hey, this is what I've always wanted to do. I couldn't do it while you guys were growing up because my focus was on you. And I wanted to get you to the point that you can do a little for yourself. That I tell my parents all the time when they have little children, baby, your life per se is over because you have to teach and train your children. You're the one to teach them. Don't allow anybody else to teach your children. And then once they get up, 5, 6 years old, and they can pour them a bowl of cereal, okay, you can back off a little bit. They can get to where they can put a hot dog in the microwave. You can back off a little bit more. Ramen noodles is the thing. We can make them some ramen noodles. You can back off a little bit. But that first teaching comes from you as the parent.
Mhm.
Yeah, Corey was saying, is that what they're looking for? A reason? I thought it was a death wish. She said, "I'm old school." Listen, I was raised old school, but
Yes.
then what I tend to do personally as a parent, I go back to when I was that age. No, I can't think about when I was 3, but
Mhm.
I do have a 12, almost 13-year-old. And think about because I said so. How did that go over with you?
Oh
Mhm.
It
Lord.
didn't. So Why are you going to expect? Because you keep forgetting these are your kids.
Right.
Remember, your mama said, I hope you have kids just like you. So
Right.
now think about that. If that didn't work for you, what makes you think it's going to work for your kids? It's not a death wish. It's not them being smart. This is literally you now having to expand
Mhm.
to
You
be
have
able
to.
what you just said, give them that lesson so that when they're outside of the house, they don't
Mhm.
have to get some of those lessons that we're trying to protect them from.
Exactly. Exactly. Because you have to. It's and I do this and I try to keep my staff abreast to it, because once they get up in the morning and bring them to daycare, they bring them and they throw them into you and they gone. Some may come, they on the phone, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna need you to hang that up and kiss little Johnny and tell him have a good day. And then Johnny's
My
gonna tell you,
goodness.
have a good day, mom. And even if when with my babies, they can't say it, but I'll say it for them.
Mhm.
And so they throw them to you. They're like this, and then you got to get them in. You got to love on them. You got to calm them down, and then get them ready for breakfast. In the afternoons, they pick them up. They doing 100. I gotta go home. I gotta cook. Gotta give you a bath. Go in the room. Turn the TV on. Shut your mouth. I don't want to hear it. Where's the quality time?
Mm.
Where have you had time that you sit down with them and you said, "Hey, how was your day? Did you have fun at daycare today? What'd you do? What'd you learn? Something." Mm-mm. They're
Yeah,
gonna not
especially
even
when
know.
you only got 2-3 hours before you putting them to bed anyway, from the
Yeah,
time that you get home.
yeah,
You are with them the majority of the day. And so yes,
absolutely.
that check-in is necessary. And for the
Yes.
older ones, it's not just how was your day? Because remember, we all used to be like, good. Would you learn? Nothing. No. It needs to be more specific so you can
Yeah.
really get a barometer and a feel for what's going on. And the
Wow.
more specific questions you're asking, that's how you
Exactly.
can be able to find out what's going on, and they're more,
Yeah.
open and honest.
Yeah.
Right.
Cause see,
Right.
I
Yeah,
work with the
You're
children.
you're facilitating this from the beginning. I love it. I'm like so excited because I love the fact that you are doing this. It's not just the children that you're teaching, but it's also the parents and
Yes.
how to be able to interact. And
Mhm.
that is at the end of the day priceless for both parties. So
Yeah.
it excites me. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Liz, I want to make you laugh. They get so afraid in the afternoons if I'm ever standing on the porch. If I'm standing on the porch, because we're still kind of under COVID precautions a little, because I got babies and little children. And if I'm ever standing on the porch in the afternoons, they come up and they be like, "Oh, is it me? What did they do today?" So some of them I'll say, come here. Come here, come here. And so, what did they do? And it's usually nothing. I hadn't seen them in a while or a couple of weeks, and I just want to chat with them. That's it. But they think they're in trouble. No, no trouble, no trouble. Some of them I really like to mess with them though, and they'll be like, "Oh man," and I say, "Oh, what do you do?" Nothing. Everything's good. Everything's good. So
So we are at the end of our time. However, we have one last question that we want to pose to you to answer, and then we are going to be done for today. Time flies when you're having fun. That's a
It
true
does.
statement. So here's the final question. How can you cultivate the can-do attitude in children? How can you cultivate them to know that they can do things? How do you do that?
well, for one, if we're doing playing with manipulatives, this is look because most of mine are little. I have after schoolers. They'll usually there about 3:30, so they're about an hour and a half. Um, if I talk to them, I'll never leave and go back on the other side because they all call my name. And showing them for as manipulatives that they can do it. Showing them, show lead by example. Okay. If we're putting a puzzle together, I'll do it first, and I'll make sure that I have their full attention. And
Mhm.
said, okay, this is the way we do it. Look now, and I'll point, and then they'll know they can do it. Praise them after they do it.
Mm.
Praising is the key. Because if you never praise them, they don't think they've done anything.
Yeah, that's real.
Mama don't
That's
never tell me I did a good job. Mama don't tell me that's my grades were great. Mama don't ever say that. She always say, "Well, I had a B." Yeah, but you couldn't get an A. No,
yeah.
don't do that. B is great. That is great. And we know next report card you're gonna have an A. That's how you approach it.
Mhm.
Um, the older kids, they just talk. And you gotta really be able to come out your hat with something real quick.
Mhm.
Um, like today, one of them was like, what was she asking me? I forgot what it was she was asking me about, and and then she turned around and the brother had hit the sister in the face. And so
Mm.
she was telling me, she whispered and told me, but the sister was in the back just calling my name. And I always say yes, so and so. So they'll know that I'm actually talking to them and they have my full attention. And she said, and she called his name, he hit me in the face. And I said, he hit you in the face. And he steady trying to explain why he hit her in the face. And his thing was, she had some of my toys in her room. And she said she's not going to give them back because he did something. And so when I told him, I said, well, I said, but that's not a reason to hit her in the face. You could just do something else and you guys talk it out. And so when I told her, I said, now what is it that you have that belonged to him? And then the whole conversation just went another level. And so I really want to make them understand what they're doing, how they can fix it, how they can come together and get a solution
Mm.
without him hitting her in the face again.
Right. No more physical violence. Oh my goodness.
They
Exactly.
were so funny.
Well, we definitely appreciate you coming on and talking with us about shaping future generations. I really believe that you've given us a lot to think about and to consider. I know for me personally, because you know Ariel, and you've given me some things to handle her in a different way because she's
Ariel's
totally
on a different
different.
level.
She's different from my other kids. So I'm like, oh my God, where'd you come from? What am I supposed to do? So now I know because she's that child that asks why. When I tell her she can't do something, it's
Hmm.
why. And I've caught myself saying, because I said so, I'm your mother. I tell you what to do. So now I got to change that.
Yeah.
Because she's very smart. So
Mhm.
thank you for your time. We are so happy for everyone that came on and
Yes.
watched the show. We promise you will not come on this show and not have a good time, not get some good information, not laugh a little bit. I think me and Morgan pretty good on the eyes. You know, we look good on the eyes. You know, we stay on the eyes. But we want to empower you. We want to
Yes,
encourage, lift you, and our future generations. This is where it starts. So, parents, start that at home. Help
definitely.
your child care providers out. They're reinforcing what you're teaching them. You don't want them to teach, and then you're not reinforcing that. You got to both. You're working together as a
Mm,
team.
yeah.
So thank.
And that's one thing when you said that, I always tell my parents, we're partnering together.
That's
And
right.
this is how we're
Absolutely.
going to work. I'm partnering with you. I'm reinforcing what you're doing at home. Um, some things we don't keep, we go another route. Because just like April said, you know, because I said so, I'm your mother. But the older ones can say, well, my mama said, and I can tell them, okay, yes, I understand why mom said that. And probably this is why she said what she said. But you got to make sure that you're doing the right thing, because
Mm-hmm.
mom is mom and we're
Right.
learning, and
Absolutely.
we have to,
That's the key.
yes, you have to obey what mom says. And there will be a time that you can sit down and say, well, mom, you remember we were talking about such and such and you said such and such. And but you just can't start doing this,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
mom is mom, dad is dad. They're the ultimate authority.
Right.
And because another thing I always tell parents, they say, well, why? Because one little boy came to daycare with a $300 chain around his neck. And so when he got in, I said, oh, that is so pretty. I said, let me get it so you won't lose it. And I'll put it in my pocket and we'll give it to mom when she gets here. So I was back in the classroom. And so when she got there, she was like, oh, she was franticing at the front door. Where's his chain? Where's his chain? And so they called me. I said, I have it. It's in my pocket. She was like, well, why he let you take it off? He told me no, and he was falling out and he was having a fit. That's because you allow it. You shouldn't have put it on him when you know it was valuable. Say,
Mm.
hey, there's a way to do it. I say, you let the kid frustrate you until you get to the point that you just say, whatever.
Mm.
No, he's at childcare. That's a $300 necklace. I'm not gonna replace it. It could get broken, or he could be playing outside on some of the equipment and it get caught and choke him. No,
Yeah.
we're gonna take this off. So it's just all in the way you approach it.
Mhm.
And I tell him,
Absolutely.
I said, who the parent and who's the child? How many bills he pay?
That part. That part.
Yes, and they be like,
Exactly. Certain things are just absolute.
yeah.
Yeah.
They look at me
Right.
like, huh? Yeah. What bills they pay, what groceries they buy, and what job they go on. And
Mm.
I'm like,
Yeah.
hmm, right.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So
So,
next week, next Tuesday, we have another guest coming on, and that topic is going to be Black art expressions and emotions. You do not want to
Yes.
miss that one.
I'm so
I want to thank my beautiful mother, Kathy Green, for coming on and giving us all these gems and wisdom. Jackie said this was a
put my
wonderful
check in
discussion.
the
Wish
mail.
all the young moms could hear it. That's true. What did you say?
Put my check in the mail.
I got your check. I got your check. Don't think because we on here live, I won't act like I do.
exactly. Look, plug that daycare real quick. Okay. So
Jackson Heights Christian Academy in
yes.
Valdosta, Georgia. If you were in the South Georgia, I mean deep South
You
Georgia area,
ain't that
it's
deep.
it's South.
See,
Then you
I
want to
got
check
folks.
that out. You want to check her out. Check her out. Thank you so much. I love you
You're
dearly.
welcome.
Thank
You're welcome.
you.
Morgan,
I
you are
enjoyed it.
amazing. I'm so glad you did. Morgan, you are amazing, amazing, amazing. And I love doing this show with you.
I do
So,
too, April. I do too. I'm so glad I said yes and you said yes. This is a great duo.
yes, it is. Yes. So, y'all, until next week. Hey, my mama, hear it, Dr. D.
You mean
Dr. D,
our
don't you
mama,
jump on
okay,
this
Dr. D?
bandwagon.
Our mama.
You know what? On that note, we are going to end this show because y'all getting a little too carried away. A little too carried. We don't.
Oh,
All right. Yeah, I got to go in and hide my mama. So y'all was like, where's my mama? I got to
Well,
hide.
that's what you get. You can't share such an amazing woman and then want to lock her back up in the closet.
No what? Fine, fine.
gosh.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.
We'll
We
see
love
you next
you.
week.
Tuesday,
Love you.
7 p.m. on this same platform. Invite some folks. We want
Yes.
you to be on with us. All right, we'll
All
see
right.
you.
See ya.
Yeah, I'm so extra. Express myself, I'm next up. Yeah, what more do you say? Coming up. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Come up now.